Hello healers and health seekers, it's me Ichoda, healing with medical medium for 29 months now, and I wanted to make a little video and talk about, just a little one, and give you a couple of tips and tricks, like just some celery tips basically, because I've noticed that just there's a little couple things about celery that people don't necessarily know, especially when they're new to the celery juice game. And I just wanted to share what I know about celery, things I've learned along the way. Now, you may not know this, but when I first began my medical medium healing journey, when I first started all this, and we were still in a house in Oregon. So that's not really part of the story. The next part of the story, about 4 or 5 months in, is when we sold our house and got on the road in our RV. And we traveled in the RV for a year, drinking celery juice all the way. So I have tasted celery juice all over this country of the United States, and I can tell you some things that I learned while traveling drinking celery juice. I'll tell you some little celery juice stories. In California, we went down the coast from Oregon, we went down the west coast, basically down the California coast, all the way down to San Diego. And along the way, we tried many different kinds of celery, of course. I'll tell you, the worst celery juice I ever tried in my life, and it was awful, was celery that was grown by the beach. It was grown near the ocean, and the people who grew it were like, oh, this celery is so good, it's so salty, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, it was. You know what it tasted like when you juice it? Seawater. If you ever drank seawater, oh no, it is not good. It's the worst celery I've ever had. So that was the worst. The best celery juice I've ever had, I think actually I had today. It was amazing. It was sweet and green and delicious, and oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And luckily we have a whole case of this celery, so I'm really excited about that. But here's what I want to tell you. Celery is not all alike, okay? Now, all of my celery has always been organic, but all organic celery is not created equal. The celery that they grow in California tastes different than the celery that they grow in Arizona, and that tastes different than the celery that they grow in Wisconsin. It also varies between batches of celery, stalks of celery, farmers. There are so many variables because it can be vary by like what it's been watered with, the environment it was grown in, what was the soil like, and that really does affect the taste of celery. Oh, I lied. I'm sorry. What I mean is I lied about I didn't mean to lie, I just forgot. That ocean celery was not the worst celery I've ever tasted. My bad, that was the second worst celery I've ever tasted. The first worst celery I've ever tasted like petroleum. I do not know if it was what they watered it with, or if it was when they were transporting it in the truck that it got too many exhaust fumes in it, or what. I do not know what the deal was with this celery, but it tasted like petroleum, and I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what medical medium's official stance on celery that tastes like petroleum is, but my official stance on it is spit it out. If it tastes like petroleum, do not drink it, because oh my god, that's gross. You don't want to put more toxic chemicals in your liver. And now I know probably the benefit would actually outweigh the risk of drinking that celery juice because of how incredibly healing celery juice is. That's probably the truth. However, I don't know this to be true. I don't have spirit in my ear telling me all the answers. I don't know. But I just know for me, anything that tastes like petroleum, I'm not drinking it. So we got different celery. Now, celery can also vary by grocery store. So if you are fortunate enough to have multiple grocery stores in your area, like we do right now, we have a co-op. It's a member-supported, member-owned situation. We're part of the co-op. There's a Whole Foods. There are all these different more mainstream grocery stores, but they also do sell organics like Woodman's and Pick and Save and I don't know, Hy-Vee and all that. So our co-op is Willie Street Co-op. Everybody knows who Whole Foods is. So those are the options we have around us, and we actually did try celery from several of the different grocery stores before we decided that the most consistent and best flavor was the co-op celery. We don't get it at Whole Foods, we don't get it elsewhere, and the co-op does give us a discount when we buy a case, and because there's 3 of us drinking celery juice, and I drink a lot, we buy a case every week, easily go through a case every week. So that saves us a little bit of money. That's another tip. If you are a household who drinks enough celery juice to buy a case a week, buy a case. And if you think you can't fit it in your fridge, I assure you, you can. Here's photographic proof. We have an apartment-sized refrigerator. That means it's one of the smaller refrigerators that you can get on the market and still call it a full-size refrigerator. It's not that big, but I can fit a case of celery in the bottom of my fridge. You just have to be creative at where you put everything else in the fridge. The other thing about our fridge that's interesting, this has nothing to do with celery, is that the back of our fridge freezes everything. So we have to put like a good 6 inches between the back of the fridge and our food so that it won't freeze. So we're missing 6 whole inches in the back of our fridge and we can't use it all for anything unless it's okay for us to freeze it. Plus so it's quite a, but I can still get that celery in there. I can get a whole case. I just put a whole case in there today. Anyway, you saw the photo. Okay, so I want you to understand that about celery. The greener, so it varies widely in flavor. So if you find a batch that you just think, oh, I cannot, this is awful, go to a different store, get different celery, and see if that's better. Because sometimes it really does. Now sometimes stores in the same area can use the same distributor and it might not make a difference. So I don't know, but sometimes it's just you just need a different batch of celery. It could even be honestly from the same, you know, like they can really vary that widely in flavor. So all celery is not created equal and it does not all taste the same. The second part of that, of them being different and not tasting the same, is the fatter the celery, the milder the flavor. And also the celery juice leaves, the leaves, if you juice the leaves, also create a more bitter flavor. It's stronger, the leaves are stronger. So if you want a milder celery juice, try to find fatter celery. The more narrow and thin the celery is and the more leafy it is, the stronger and the more bitter the flavor is going to be. So that's another tip. And obviously the inner leaves that are more kind of that light green color and white are gonna have a milder flavor. So all of these things are things to consider when making your celery juice. And yes, you can use a blender. That's the other thing that people ask sometimes. Yes, you can use a blender to make celery juice. Medical Medium has a video that I will link below where he made a wonderful video about how to make celery juice 2 different ways. Obviously you can make it in a juicer, easy peasy, and the other way is you can make it in a blender, blend it up in your Vitamix or your blender, whatever. Take a nut milk bag, strain it through a nut milk bag. It really honestly doesn't take that long. Before I had a juicer, that is what I did every single day. We use both our Vitamix and our juicer multiple times a day, so I find them both valuable to have, but you don't have to have both if you don't have the space or whatever. I think the last thing that I can think of is people often ask, when I'm drinking celery juice, do I need to drink it alone or can I mix it with something because the flavor is so strong, whatever. You need to drink it alone. You do. And no, you can't make it the night before because that's another question that people ask. Okay, that wasn't the last thing. Don't make it the night before. Don't make it in advance. Celery juice, it oxidizes very quickly. You really want to drink it within like, I think 20 minutes, if I remember correctly, of making it for the benefit. And yes, you want to drink it alone for the benefit because although you can mix it with other things in other juices that you have throughout the day, if you want the full benefit of celery juice for all that celery juice does for you, you want to drink it plain. You just don't want to dilute it. It just changes what it does. And if you can't drink 16 ounces of celery juice when you start, that's okay. Start with 1 ounce. Start with 2 ounces. Start with whatever you can handle. If you can't drink 16, drink 8. If you can't handle 8, do 4. Literally, whatever amount you can handle, start with and work your way up because you will be able to drink more. I started with 16 because I can handle it. Now I can drink 32, no problem. Plus I can drink 1 at night. I love celery juice. And I don't have to like the flavor. It's not about the flavor. I love what it does for my body. The flavor is not always great, I will admit it. Like today's batch of celery made me so freaking happy because it's got like this sweetness to it and it's this perfect flavor and it's this beautiful green color and it's gorgeous. And I'm so excited about this whole case of celery because, you know, if If it continues to taste like that, that's going to be awesome. And it might not, I don't know. But it doesn't always taste like that, and sometimes it's not that great. And I'm still drinking it because the benefit outweighs the taste. It's like 16 ounces is nothing. I chug it down. And not everybody chugs it down. I chug it down because for me it's like get it down fast and then I don't have to taste it. My husband can't do that because it'll make him not feel good. So he has to sip it. And that's okay. However you're going to get it down, get it down. Get it in you. The benefit outweighs all of it. So don't feel like you have to be perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about taking one little step and putting one little foot in front of the other, and eventually you get there, okay? So do what you can with celery juice, and don't give up on it because you got a bad batch or whatever, or you're not ready for the flavor. You'll get there, you'll get there. Just keep trying because it is so worth it. So worth it. I hope this has been helpful, my beautiful healers and health seekers. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up below. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, you can hit the subscribe button over there. You can ding the bell next to it if you want to be notified when I post a new video. And remember, healers and health seekers, stay curious and you can heal. I love you so, 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 so much. Many, many blessings on your continued healing journey. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.